Good afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Defense's AAMAC, or Advancing Artificial Intelligence Multiple Award Contract Opportunity webinar, held by GDI Consulting. My name is Cal, and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end, if time permits. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a short discussion of AAMAC Predecessor background and then the general details of the new AAMAC opportunity, as well as its scope of work. Next will come a discussion of the source selection process which is based on the self-scoring type. Then Ab will discuss the proposal requirements and how the scoring is established. Finally, Ab will provide his recommendations towards preparing a winning proposal before answering any questions you might have. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Ab, you can take over now.
Thank you, Cal, and hello everyone. Thank you for participating in our AAMAC webinar. For those of you who are new, I will go very quickly about some of GDI Consulting's background and capabilities. So, if we look at the various capabilities of GDI Consulting, we've been in business for more than 15 years. We have a 98% win rate on self-scoring proposals. This year was the time that Oasis Plus was awarded and the awards were announced. So we now have a 98% win rate on this type of self-scoring proposal. We have an 82% win rate on DoD opportunities, over 300 repeat customers, over 86 large clients, some of them on the top 10 list of defense contractors. And in 2024, we had 289 wins with $18.6 billion worth of contracts for our clients. Now, we have 4 divisions in our company. The Proposal Development Division provides eligibility and score assessment. We provide full support for clients who are going after standalone contracts or specific task orders. We also provide proposal support for those clients who are going after contract vehicles like IDIQs and BPAs and GWACs, and many of these are self-scoring, which we are proficient at. We also do review services for those companies who have their own proposal shop but would like a second set of eyes to review their work. And then finally, we provide staff augmentation from capture managers and proposal managers down to technical writers, SMEs, even editors, graphic artists, and all the people that your team might be missing, we can provide them. Capture Management Division provides long-term dedicated capture management plus short-term sourcing and qualification for our clients. We also have a special service for special contract vehicles like Oasis Plus, GSA Mass, Seaport, in which we go in, we find opportunities for our clients and qualify them for them, qualify those opportunities for our clients. We also have an AI-driven platform for our capture called Capture Edge. So it's a capture management platform that is fully AI driven and will support you on that. The third division, Support Services, provides competitive intel, black hat exercises, price to win, and accounting preparations for those businesses who want to get their accounting system audited by DCAA, DCMA. So we support them and help them prepare their accounting system. And finally, the fourth division is training, providing proposal and capture management training to our clients. So that was a very short discussion of our capabilities. Now, as far as AAMAC is concerned, we provide free consultation, and I highly recommend you take use this opportunity to actually ask us to come online, answer any questions that you might have. It's a free service, and we provide the initial eligibility and qualification assessment, obviously. But the two main services we provide for AAMAC is full proposal development. We put a dedicated team to prepare the proposal for you, and I will discuss that later, the different phases of that, essentially in 3 phases. Cradle to grave, we provide support for all volumes and everything, scoring, and then full and multiple reviews. Now, if you're doing it in-house, we provide review services. We do 2 rounds of reviews with full proposal and compliance reviews, and we provide also strategy consultations. So these are the services specific to AAMAC. Now, let's look at the AAMAC predecessor, some general details of it. So it is now being performed, and actually it's about to be finished. End of it has arrived. So it was actually a task order under Alliant 2 awarded to just one company, Booz Allen Hamilton. So they have been performing this, but it is a much smaller contract, just $3.6 billion and $1.3 billion spent to date. DoD has expanded the scope, and it's a much larger contract now, but this is essentially the predecessor. They were supposed to provide enterprise level data to the DoD comptroller and its partners, such as the DoD Fourth State, DoD departments, and the IC community. So I said the ceiling is $3.6 billion, and this was a cost plus award fee under Alliant 2 unrestricted. Now the date, the POP, was September 2021, and it's now finished. February this month, February 2025 is the then end. They might extend it. I don't know if they've done that or not, for a few months until the new AAMAC contract is awarded. And take a note of this, there was just one offer received, and it was a full and open type competition. Only one offer, obviously from Booz Allen Hamilton, so no other competitors on this when it was awarded. Now, if you look at the spending on this, you can see that each year it's been expanding, so it's a very healthy contract. You can see that in 2024, a little bit less than $500 million was spent on this contract, and they're going to expand on this very much so on AAMAC. Okay, and just to give you an idea, the main part of the AAMAC contract, the predecessor, what Booz Allen Hamilton was performing, was towards Advana, which is a platform for decision support analytics, data management, data science tools, and all the associated support services. So it's a platform that is being used by DoD. I won't go into the details of it, but the next slide will show you some numbers. So there are more than 100,000 active users, 450 data sources, 90,000 data sets, 18 petabytes of data, and over 100 product lines. So it's a very elaborate system, and a lot of the AAMAC predecessors' work was towards this. A lot of funding was towards this. Okay, moving forward, let's now go into the details of the new AAMAC IDIQ. So some general details: Department of Defense, obviously. Full name is Advancing Artificial Intelligence Multiple Award Contract, AAMAC. It's an IDIQ multiple award, $15 billion. Compare this with $3.6 billion of the previous predecessor, so it's much larger. They've expanded it. It's a 10-year contract, 5-year base, and 1 5-year option. It has an unrestricted pool and a small business pool. The number of awards is unknown. I will tell you why, and I will explain how it works. At least right now, we have the last draft RFP. Then they've said that they're not going to issue another draft RFP. They're going to go directly to full RFP, perhaps sometime in April or May, considering all the new changes due to the presidential directives. So some of the releases have been delayed. So we estimate this to be April or May of 2025. And the award date estimated so far was September 2025, with the POP start date being October. We'll have to see, obviously, considering the delays that we are facing and seeing with many of these contracts. Okay, so what's the scope of AAMAC covers? Let me just mention that what I'm providing you in this webinar covers, I think, the second draft RFP, or I shouldn't say second. This is the draft RFP that was released towards the end of January and beginning of February of 2025. So you might see some of the things have changed if you have read the previous ones, the November one. So they have the scope has instead of I think it was 29 or something areas, now they have shortened it to these 7 areas: system management, architecture, and engineering, software engineering, data analytics, cybersecurity, managed services, workflow modernization. So overall, the scope of AAMAC covers these 7 areas. Now, in terms of the requirements, it's a little bit larger, 18 of these, from analytics, application development, all the way to number 18, robotic process automation. So there are a lot of different scope requirements, meaning that task orders might cover many or any of these items once you're awarded on this. I won't go into the details of these, and you can read these later, or from the SAO or the draft RFP. Okay, now usually I go directly into the proposal structure, but I do want to first discuss the source selection process because it's strange and it's new to many people. Now, if you work with GSA, you might be familiar with self-scoring types like Oasis or Alliant, but this is DoD, this is the Air Force, or those areas. So people who work with DoD might not be very familiar. And this one has a special type too. So let me first discuss the source selection process, how it works. So this is based on the HTRO system, highest technically rated offeror. That's the name of the source selection process. It is neither a trade-off nor a lowest price technically acceptable, LPTA. So it's neither a trade-off or an LPTA. It focuses on prior experience in performing the same or similar work. Note, for those who are familiar with self-scoring, I didn't say past performance. Unlike all the other self-scorings that I worked with, that they, cover past performance, this one has nothing to do with past performance. Everything is about experience. Now, the way it works, the HTRO, the government establishes a weighing system. So they say, for example, if you have this type of contract, perform this type of contract, you will get this many points. If you did that type of contract, you get those types of points. And I will go into the details of that. So that's essentially how they establish their weighing system. And that's the objective criteria of selecting. So whoever has the highest score, they will be selected. Now, we are, as the offerers, we self-score ourselves. So the government has told us, hey, if you have a contract that is about, say, AI or ML, machine language, you get 5,000 points. for example. So I self-score myself. I say, yes, I have 2 contracts, so I get, say, 10,000 points. So that's why it's called self-scoring. And then I provide substantiation. I provide proof showing that, yes, I did this. So because the government, has to get some proof from us for the claim of the score. And that's how they evaluate. So the technical evaluation team, they review the substantiation for the self-scoring that I have done. That's the process, essentially. Now, if in terms of steps, the way they're going to do it for AAMAC is like this. First, they're going to separate out the small business submissions from the large business submissions. Then they will pick the highest score from the large business, the unrestricted, and the highest score from the small business. Then they will establish what they call the MTTR, the minimum technical threshold rating, which means the top 20%, of the large business submissions and top 20% of the small business submissions. And they will keep those, they will evaluate those proposals, and if they're good, they are awarded. So they're not going to look at the rest of the proposals. The top 20% they will evaluate, but they're not going to look at the rest. And then if you're a small business, you will automatically be part of, if you're awarded, you will be part of the unrestricted pool as well as the small business pool. But obviously large businesses cannot be part of the small business pool. So this meaning that in the future, when task orders are for small businesses only, then large businesses cannot participate. Now let me show you this in an example. Say, for example, we're talking about small businesses. First, the government separates out the small business and the UR, the unrestricted submissions. Say we have 56 proposals from small business companies received. They rank these and pick the top one. Who has the highest score? And they see, okay, company ABC has a score, which is the highest, has a score of 50,000. Maybe that, max score is 200,000, doesn't matter. They see that company ABC has a score of 50,000. Then they multiply that by 0.8, meaning the below rate, comes to 40,000. That's the 20%. So between 40,000 to 50,000, that's the 20% top score. So the MTTR is now 40,000, and they see, okay, 6 other small businesses have scores above 40,000. So they pick those 2. So at the end of the day, they're going to look at 7 companies only and evaluate them. They receive 56, but they'll never look at 49 of them. Just the 7 that they have picked. Then they will start evaluating, meaning by evaluating, meaning that they will look at the documentation that they've provided and the justifications to make sure that the scores are correct. If so, they're awarded. That's the process. Now, if during the course of the evaluation the score of a company drops below 40,000 for any reason, like they claimed some point but they didn't provide the proper justification, then that company is removed and no company replaces it. So at the end of that day, for that case, you would have 1 plus 5. So 6 companies only would be awarded instead of 7. So that's the process they're going to go for small businesses, and the same process for large businesses. This is our understanding of how they're going to do it. Of course, they will probably elaborate on this and make some things more clear in the final RFP. But so far, from the Q&As that I've read, plus the draft sections L and M, this is the process that they're going to go through. So if you want to look at it in a graphical way, so step 1, they receive proposals. Step 2, separate the large business from small business submissions. Step 3, establish highest score, the highest number score of for small businesses and for large businesses. Which means establishing the LB MTTR and SB MTTR, meaning multiply that highest score by 0.8. Then they evaluate the proposals above the MTTR score. Finalize evaluation step 6 for finalize evaluations for large business, small business pools, and award. That's essentially the process that they're going to go through. So having said that, let's now start going through the proposal structure and how the scoring system works. So in terms of the proposal organization structure, there are 3 volumes to this. Volume 1 is essentially all about the scoring that I mentioned, and I will go into the details of that. You're supposed to provide a cover sheet, 3 pages per contract that you are providing, the work samples and so on, explanations of those. There's a self-scoring matrix, 3 pages. But essentially, this is document management and writing a little bit about your products. No major writing involved. Volume 2 is small business. So here you're supposed to provide small business participation commitment document and small business subcontracting plan. So this is the usual work that is usually done for small business participation. And then volume 3 is essentially contract documents. You know, SF 1449, OCIs, any change histories, amendments, reps and certs, and so on and so forth. So essentially, you can see that everything boils down to a volume 1, which is a technical volume. So let's go into the scoring system and see how that works and go from there. So there are 5 factors that create the score. The total score so far for AAMAC is 97,500. That's the maximum score that you can get. Now there are 5 factors playing into that. The technical experience and expertise, that's 70,000 points, the main one. And you can see this graphically also below. Scale of technical experience expertise, 8,000 points. NIST RMF expertise, 15,000 points. Facility clearance, 3,000 points. And certifications, other types of certifications, 1,500 points for a total of 97,500 points. So you can see that a little bit less than 72% of that 97,500 points comes from technical expertise, expertise, which is based on maximum 12 contracts that you provide. So past performed contracts that you have, maximum 12. Maybe you just provide 8 and you get your maximum score. But the maximum you can provide is 12. You cannot provide more than 12. So that's the 5 different score factors, score areas, and how they compare to each other. So if you don't have one of these certifications, I'll explain what they are. It's no matter. You should concentrate essentially on that first one, that technical expertise, experience expertise, especially when you're doing a go, no-go at the beginning, whether you want to go after this or not. That's the major part that you should think about, whether you have that, what percentage of that you have. And I will go into the how you can actually bring in or whether you can do it or not with partners, with other companies, filling in your gaps on all of that. So this is the 5 score areas. Now let's go into the details of each of these. So the next few slides, I will go into the details of how these, for example, 70,000 points or 8,000 or 15,000, how they are calculated, what they are based on. So this is the main one, the technical experience and expertise. There are 10 factors, sub-factors, so to say, involved in this to make the 70,000 points. So they want to see if you have any contracts that cover systems management, architecture, and engineering. For every contract that you have in that area, you get 2,000 points. And the maximum you can have is 5. Maybe you have 8 contracts like that, but the maximum you can bring to the table are 5 contracts. And you get 2,000 points for a maximum of 10,000 points if you have contracts whose scope covers systems management, architecture, and engineering. Now, software design and development, again, each contract that whose scope covers that, you get 1,200 points, a maximum of 5 contracts you can have for 6,000 points. Data engineering, each contract 1,200 points, 5 contracts for a maximum of 6,000. Data analytics, this one is less important, so each contract 400 points, 5 contracts max for 2,000 points. AI and ML, machine learning, 2,000 points for each contract, maximum 5, maximum score 10,000 overall. Cybersecurity, 5 contracts, again 1,600, 8,000 total. Managed services, 5 contracts, 1,200 each, 6,000 points. And portfolio management, less important, 400 points for each contract, 5 max, 2,000 points. Now, number 9 and 10 are numbers, so they're not contracts. Number of federal contracts for prototype software resulting in application of data management, analytics, and or AI. So if you have federal contracts for prototype software, a maximum of 3 each of them, you can see big one, 4,000 points. You can have maximum of 3 of those for 12,000. Now, if you have SBIR or STTR phase 3 contracts, you can bring up to 3 of them to the table with 2,000 each. Now, the question might be, hey, if I add up all these maximum contract numbers, it's way over 12. Yes, that's why you have to pick it correctly. So some of these contracts that you bring to the table might be both AI/ML and data analytics and data engineering. I mean, the scope might cover it. So at the end of the day, you cannot have more than 12 contracts. But the combination of the scope within those contracts must give you the highest score here. So you can see that you have to do a lot of juggling, you have to do a lot of reading the scope and profiling your contracts to see which ones will give you, the highest score when they're combined together, especially if you have large number of contracts and you have to decide which ones to bring to the table. Now, there are some restrictions for the contracts that you have, and I want to discuss those now. So, number of contracts, as I said, up to 12 contracts can be submitted for those 70,000 points. Now, the type of contracts, they can be standalone contracts or they can be task orders under IDIQs or BPAs or GWACs. But the IDIQ or the BPA itself cannot be considered a contract. You have to have a task order or an order or a call, as they call them, for BPAs under those and use that. Now, the contracts can also be, other than federal contracts, they can be state and local or even commercial contracts. Now, for large businesses, out of those 12 contracts, 2 of them can be subcontracts. Not from subcontractors. No, your contracts could be subcontracts. So maybe you worked for another company and you had a subcontract towards them. So 2 of those 12 can be subcontracts. For small businesses, 5 of those 12 can be subcontracts. Okay, but not the rest. Now, in terms of recency, the contract must have been awarded within the last 4 years of the RFP issuance date. Now, the RFP hasn't been issued, so assuming, say, that it will be awarded in April 2025, then you would have 1 year would be April 2024, 2 years would be April 2023, 3 years 22, and 4 years 21. So if it came out in April 2025, then the award start date, the POP start date, I should say, should be after April 2021 for that contract to be able to, for you to use it. So If the contract was awarded prior to that date, you cannot use that contract. They will not accept it. So only contracts who've started within the past 4 years, and they must have at least 6 months of performance. So you can't use a contract that you got 2 months ago. It has to have at least 6 months of performance. Now, JV, if you form a JV, if you have a JV, they are allowed and they can provide contracts in the name of the JV or contracts in the name of any of the members of the JV. But that, and this is important, teaming like prime sub or CTAs is not allowed, at least for the purpose of using subcontractor contracts. So you cannot bring in a subcontractor and use their contract. That is not allowed. And this is a change. So make sure you understand all the contracts must be from you as the prime. Now, they might be subcontracts, your own, but they might be subcontracts. But you cannot bring in a subcontractor and use their contracts. This is important. So this changes a lot of the partnering issues and teaming work that has been done previously on AAMAC for different companies. Okay, moving forward. So now let's look at the other, we covered those 70,000 points. Let's look at the rest. Remember the total was 97,500. So 8,000 comes from scale of technical experience. And there are 3 sub-factors here. The dollar value of the highest contract. So perhaps you're using 12 contracts, the largest contracts. If that largest contract is over $100 million, you get 1,000 points. If that largest contract is between $50 to $100 million, 900 points. Between $20 million to $50 million, 750 points. And between $5 million and $20 million, 500 points. If it's smaller than $5 million, you don't get any points. But this is important. Don't let this, turn you off. This is just 1,000 points and that's it. So maybe you have all your contracts are $100,000. No problem. I mean, you have contracts performed within the past year, 4 years, sorry. And they're all very small, $50,000, $100,000. That's fine. As long as the scope is within those that I mentioned in the previous one, 70,000 points come from there. You lose 1,000 points here, no problem. The second sub-factor, growth percentage for the contract with highest growth percentage in unique users. So again, this is the one of the contracts, not all of the contracts. Which one of them had the highest growth in terms of the unique users using that software during the life of the contract? If it increased by 40%, you get 4,000 points. 30 to 39%, 3,600 points. 20 to 29%, 3,000 points. 10 to 19%, 2,000 points. If the increase in unique users of that program during the life cycle of it did not increase more than 10%, you don't get any points. And this is just for the one contract. And then the last criteria, number 13, peak number of unique users supported in any of the contracts. So here, if depending on the type of contract that you did, if the peak, and this is peak, not standard throughout the life cycle, the peak is more than 10,000, you get 3,000 points. Between 2,000 and 10,000, 2,700 points. Between 500 to 2,000, 2,250, and less than or between 100 and 500, you get 1,500, and less than 100, you don't get any points. Now, if you add these up, 1,000 for item 11, 4,000 item 12, and 3,000 for item 13. Maximum for scale of technical experience expertise is 8,000 points. Okay, next factor is NIST RMF expertise. So depending on the number of authorizations to operate that you've received to assure a digital product and service, ATOs, Each of them will give you 3,750 points, 3,750 points, maximum of 4 for overall 15,000 points for NIST RMF expertise. Facility clearance. So if you have top secret, you get 3,000 points, and it seems that they very much like top secret rather than secret, because it drops suddenly to 750 points if you have secret, and confidential 150, and nothing else is 0. So 3,000 points there. And then there are 3 certifications, each of which will give you 500 points. So if you have CMMI services level 3, you get 500 points. CMMI development level 3, you get 500 points. And ISO 27001, you get 500 more points for an overall 1,500 points. So this is how the rest of those 97,500 from the 70,000 that comes from technical experience and expertise are made up of. I hope that I have shown you, how this works. So you can see that up to number 13 is essentially based on the 12 contracts that you bring to the table. So 70,000 there and 8,000 here. All of them are based on the contracts, those 12 contracts that you bring to the table. And so the selection of those 12 contracts is the most important part in going after AAMAC. Okay, very short points on partnering. I think I've covered it, but you should know. So JVs are allowed. They haven't differentiated between JVs and MPJVs, but they've said JVs are allowed, and the contracts can come from JV itself or any of its members. So we're good there if you have a JV, but in terms of prime sub and CTA partnering, it is not allowed as far as using the partner's contract for experience. You can, of course, create teams, form them, but it will not have any effect on the award of the IDIQ because you cannot use the team's past experience. You can use it once you receive task orders. You can use the teams, and of course you can create those 4 teams later on once you're awarded per task order. So what is the way forward for small businesses? I think that for small businesses who want to go after this, the best way forward is to form JVs. If they cannot, obviously, for those who do not have a lot of gaps in past experience and they want to go after this, form JVs. But you have to do that very quickly because you have to get your JV registered in SAM at a minimum, and that takes some time. So make sure that you create those JVs. Obviously, you have to do a gap analysis, and based on your gaps, try to find partners or JV members who fill those gaps, and this way increase your overall score. So that was a short discussion on partnering. My final recommendations. So this type of submission, which we call self-scoring per experience, you should divide it into 3 phases or 3 sections. First, you establish your best score. So you don't start preparing and writing towards your justifications or anything like that. So first you establish your best score. What is your score? Where are your gaps? Do you need to form a JV or not in this case? But overall, whether you should actually go for it or not. So that's the first phase. Establish your best score. Then once you decide to go after it, then prepare your proposal, which means prepare your justification documents. And third is review and review and again review. So you have to really do that because we've seen many cases where you really deserve the score, but you've not provided the proper justification. So you need to review. Now, usually in these cases, you need to do 2 rounds of go no-goes. So at the beginning, you do a go no-go, but once you are at the end of phase 1, which means you've set up your best score, and you've gone through all your contracts, you've read them, you've decided which ones will give you what score, then you do another go no-go. whether you want to go after, continue on this, start the preparation of the proposal or not. For small businesses, as I mentioned previously, form JVs to combine your members' past experience. Also, if you're a small business, do not be put off by the contract value factor. Like, it says if you're above $100 million contracts, you get 1,000 points. It's just 1,000 points, which is a little bit more than 1% of the score. So don't let that, put you off. Conversely, for large businesses, don't try to look for large value contracts. In this AAMAC opportunity, everything depends, or the majority of the score depends on the scope of the contracts that you bring to the table. So all the contracts could be, say, $50,000 or $100,000 contracts. But if they cover those scope areas in the proper way, those are the contracts that you should bring to the table, and not your 50 million, or even $1 billion contract that some of these larger contractors might have. That doesn't help. Now, best way of going after this is create a table in which you score each of your contracts independently based on the various score factors, and then decide which 12 will give you the highest score. You might find that you actually don't need all the 12 contracts, the maximum 12. You might actually get your maximum possible score with 5 or 6 or 8 or 9, depending on the scope of those contracts. And then get outside help, especially for phase 1, which is establishing the best score and maximizing your score, and then phase 3, which is the review phase. These are the important ones, and we specialize in, specifically that, maximizing scores and then reviews. Just for your information, we prepared 97 OSS Plus submissions, and now the awards are out. They've announced them. We had a 98% win rate on those 97 submissions that we prepared for our clients. Okay, so once again, just to remind you, so we provide both full proposal development and review services. And as I said, please use the maximum possible the free consultation service that you can have. So any questions that you might have, just arrange a call with us, and we'll jump on a call, answer any questions that you might have from there on. Okay, so these are my contact information and my colleague Maroon Freedy. If you want to call, set up a call, whether you have technical questions or you want our services, please coordinate with Maroon Freedy. Either call him or email him, and we'll jump on a call and discuss. Let's answer some of the questions then. Okay. So let's start with James's question. James says, no past performance is needed. Right, James. So as I mentioned, the way they have set this up is that they're not looking for any past performance. They're not even providing any scores for past performance of those 12 contracts. Everything is on experience. So unlike Oasis or other self-scoring opportunities, this one is not looking for any past performance or giving any score for it. Next question, Tricia question, what happened to the 50 to 70 awards they had said in the, I think, industry meeting? Okay, Tricia, so as you said, initially they had said that they're going to provide 50 to 70 awards, but they have changed that. So now they're set up that 20%, top 20% system. Now, I'm not sure exactly how many will be awarded on that basis, less or more, probably a little bit less. But they haven't set any numbers. As long as, if there are 200 companies within that 20%, they're going to award it. So that's how they have set it up. Okay, a few sales related messages. So as I mentioned, if you have any questions about our services or would like a call with us, please contact Maron Freedy, whose contact is available on the slide deck. And if you have, if you're having problem downloading the slide deck, please just write your name and email, or just name, we have your emails, on the chat system saying that you have problem and downloading it and you would like us to send it over to you, and we'll do that. Okay, so question from Malcolm. Didn't they have partnering previously? Yes, exactly. So this is again one of the things that has changed. So they have said that instead of partnering, they're allowing for subcontract contracts from the prime. So as I said, if you're a large business, 2 subcontracts, and if you're a small business, 5 subcontracts out of the 12. So 5 contracts out of those 12 can be your subcontracts. So not necessarily, you don't have to be prime on those, you can be subcontracts. But instead, they have canceled out all partnering in terms of, you know, being able to bring in a subcontractor and using their contracts. They have ruled that out now. Question from Conrad. Is there no pricing volume? No, there is no pricing volume. Recently, the way they're setting up these self-scoring opportunities, either they don't have any pricing and they're using a special FAR for that, or if they do have pricing, it's a very limited LCAT system that you know, labor categories, you just provide a pricing that has to be less than what the government provides. Usually they provide the maximum range, and your prices must be less than that. So it's very usually easy on these self-scoring type proposals, and this one doesn't have one at all. Question from Sandra. Do we need to submit a CMMC level 2 or 3 certificate with our proposal? So far, no, but they have specifically said that CMMC compliance assessment will be conducted at the time of IDIQ award. So you have a little bit more time to get your certificates, level 2 or level 3, by the time they award, which is towards the end of this year. But it is part of the model contract document, DFAR clause 252.204-7021. That's the one about CMMC compliance. Okay, more sales related. Question from Amanda. Can we use different contracts for different factors? Yes. So as I said, overall, you cannot have more than 12 contracts, but for those 10 different factors within the first main price factor, score factor, you can switch between these contracts. So it doesn't mean that you know, you have to use the same 5 contracts everywhere. You might change them, but at the end of the day, you can't have more than 12 contracts. Okay, Jack has a similar question saying, please explain what the maximum 12 contract constraint is. So as I mentioned, for each of those sub scores, you were supposed to provide 5 contracts. Obviously, they are not supposed to be 5 different contracts. Otherwise, you would need 30, 40 contracts because each of them are 5 and you multiply it by that number. So, so you can use a contract multiple times in those. Obviously, not in the same sub area. So if it says for each, for example, AI or ML contract, you get 2,000 points, and you're supposed to provide 5 contracts for that for a maximum of 10,000. You can't use the same contract twice in that. So you have to have 5 different contracts. But you can use that same contract that you've used for example, AI ML in one of the other categories as well. And the constraint is that you can change the contracts all the way up to 12. So a maximum of 12 contracts you can have. So obviously you need to pick contracts that have multiple roles. I mean, their scope covers multiple areas. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to cover all these areas and get a high score. So that's why picking the best contracts is very important, and that's why I said you have to profile each contract separately. In other words, score it separately, saying that, okay, it gets 2,000 for AIML, it gets 1,400 for this one, it gets 400 for this one. And at the end of the day, this contract by itself will bring us 20,000. The other contract will bring us 14,000, and so on and so forth. And then pick the best 12 that will give you the highest score. Let's see, another question from John. Is the submission in one go or 2 steps? Okay, so yeah, it is in one go. So you're supposed to provide the whole volume 1, which is all that documentation, justification for the scores that you have claimed. Volume 2, which is about small business subcontracting, and then volume 3, which is all the administrative documents, SF 1449, search and reps, and that sort of thing. All of them are submitted together. So one go. Okay, I think I have answered all the questions. Since there are a lot of sales related questions and questions about our services mixed up, if I have missed one of your questions, I apologize. I will go through these once more, but in case you have my email, if I have not answered your question, please email me and I can reply back to you. I would like to thank everyone for participating in our webinar, and I look forward to see you in our future webinars as well. Thank you everyone, and have a wonderful day.